everyone, Nick here with What Game Now, and we are back with the Peace River Army Box overview for Heavy Gear. If you haven't seen the CEF one yet, or if it's not up by the time this goes up, I apologize for how long it's taken to get these out. This is the third recording of them. So, on to Peace River. So before I get going, I want to talk a little bit about the fluff changes that have to occur because of this. I don't have access to as much fluff on these as I did the other armies, so some of what you're going to see is more conceptual and more doctrinal discussion, as opposed to here's the exact history of this one machine. So the Peace River Warrior is the general purpose gear of the Peace River Defense Force, which was created after the War of the Alliance. What happened is Peace River showed up in that conflict as essentially an army of dregs, bandits, and child soldiers. Showed up and helped defeat the CEF. Peace River realized that that wasn't really a useful entity, so they organized it into a full army. All of their stuff is generally designed for long-range operations and security. The Peace River Defense Force's job is to protect Paxton Arms, the owners of Peace River, and their resources and workers. So what they're going to be doing is they manufacture their own equipment. It's designed for long-range Badlands operations. So a couple of points with that. The big one here that we're going to mention for now is because these are produced in-house by Paxton themselves, they actually can get a lot of these at a reasonable cost because they're only paying cost. You know, you're making your own equipment. You don't have to pay yourself a profit. You're paying yourself to make it. So they're doing it as efficiently as possible, and they are effectively getting these cheaper than a lot of other machines. It is worth noting that the other major change here is the addition of an ECM across the board used to disrupt bandit communications. All right, let's talk machines here. Much like all general purpose gears, these are available in general purpose and strike groups, as well as fire support with one exception. Walker ground movement of 6, armor 6, hull structure 4-2, 1 action, gunnery 4 up, piloting 4 up, EW 5 up. Everything I just said is pretty standard, except for the electronic warfare skill. That's one better, and when we get to the traits, you'll see that all of these have an ECM. They all come with a light rocket pack, light anti-personnel grenade launcher, and a light vibro blade, in addition to the arms and the ECM trait. So let's talk about stat line real fast. It's a trooper stat line. Okay, if you get hit, it's going to hurt. You're not too hard to hit, but in exchange, you're cheap and have a flexible weapons loadout. The ECM trait's the big selling point here. Every single Peace River machine is capable of doing ECM attack, ECM defense, and jamming, which is really good. Now with an EW5 Plus, if it's an opposed roll, it's not exactly a good look. You're a little concerned about surviving, about it working at that point, but you know, when you have 4 or 5 models that can try, it's pretty good. The baseline warrior is unlimited in general purpose, has a light autocannon. So like every trooper gear, if you haven't watched any of our other videos, light autocannon is really good against high defense targets. The light rocket pack is very good against targets with very high armor. You have an anti-personnel grenade launcher for infantry, and you have a vibro blade to punch something. Not too much to comment on there. The sweeper drops the fire support UA, but picks up a medium frag cannon. Not the biggest fan here for me because it's so slow. And I kind of wish it was in fire support to just kind of sit there and overwatch the things. It's weird that it's not in the one place I'd want to see it. The Vanguard is 8 points and has a medium autocannon. If you got a point, this is a perfectly reasonable thing to do if you have a warrior. Just upgrade it to a Vanguard. The Scourge is 7 points and has a light bazooka with the split 2 trait. Now I do want to point out that as of the time of this recording, there is a discussion going on about this particular gun because I'm not the only one who thinks that it's hot, complete, steaming garbage. It's no worse than a light bazooka, but that split 2 trait is just a trap. It's encouraging you to lose dice to engage multiple targets, but unlike an autocannon, which has the burst trait, it doesn't have enough dice to throw around. So my advice is the Scourge isn't a bad option, pretend the split's not there. The Pilum, however, is the unique version that we're going to see here, and we're going to see throughout this entire box set. 8 threat value, so more expensive than the baseline warrior, swaps its rocket pack for a light anti-tank missile with the limited ammo trait. The limited ammo trait is a little unfortunate, but given how prolific this can be, it's somewhat understandable. Gunnery 4-up isn't the greatest, but at the same time, if you can combo this with something with a target designator, you can really lay the smackdown on something. So the Pilum, I think this is a really good option if you're going to have a more defensively minded squad. Just sit back and let the anti-tank missile do its work, especially considering this doesn't have React Plus. And then lastly, we have the Chieftain upgrade. For 1 point more, you get the comms trait in EW4+, which you can make a 3+ with the Veteran upgrade EW Specialist, which makes this thing a really weird pocket ECM machine. Like, it will shut things down. It will shut communications down. You know what? That's totally fine, especially if you're EW3+. I mean, this is a great commander. I think the Chieftain, a baseline warrior Chieftain, is one of the most underrated commanders in Peace River. Next up, we have the Warrior 4. As its name implies, this is a upgrade on the baseline warrior. Not a replacement, just an advanced version. And what they did is they found that the baseline warrior was not suitable for heavy assault ops because it wasn't designed to do that. This is. Upped its armor, upgunned it a little bit. Still fundamentally is a warrior, though. So a lot of things you're going to see about the warrior are going to be true here. Currently in universe, these things have been used to guard the maglev lines, which supply Peace River and the other colonial powers against CEF attacks. All right. Strike and paratrooper across the board availability, 11 threat value, armor 7, hull structure 3/3, 1 action, gunnery piloting 3 up, EW 5 up, medium rocket pack, light anti-personnel grenade launcher, light vibro blade, arms, airdrop, ECM, and sensors across the board. Okay, so this looks a lot like a Jaguar at first glance. I want to point out the differences. First off, this does not have agile, so it is not as durable as a Jaguar or a Cuirassier. Airdrop, pretty good. You can forward deploy this thing. All of them have an ECM, as is consistent with the Warrior, so you still retain that capability. They're also all sensors 24, which is very nice. It makes that ECM even more powerful. Weapon loadout, they all have a medium rocket pack, anti-personnel grenade launcher, and vibro blade. All the stuff we've talked about before, if you've watched any of the other videos, makes sense here. This is more durable than a Warrior. It's got better armor. It's harder to hit. It's upgunned. But it does not have the agile trait, which is the big difference here, but retains the ECM. The baseline warrior has a light autocannon. This is the other major deviation here. If this was, say, a Jaguar, that would be a medium autocannon. Makes it a upgunned warrior, but still, I would contend a little bit undergunned for its class. You compare this to, say, a Jaguar, a Cuirassier, or a Black Mamba, and there's no question that the Warrior 4 is going to come out worse for wear in that exchange. Now, that's okay. It's not designed to tangle toe-to-toe with them. And you've also got some other options. You have the ECM and you have the sensors trait. Because it only has a light autocannon, the Vanguard Warrior 4 exists and has a medium autocannon. Interesting note here, it's the exact same cost as the regular version. You lose the fire support UA and the unlimited availability in strike. So for the most part, I would argue use Vanguard Warriors to start with. Pretend the baseline Warrior 4 doesn't exist unless you need it to. So medium autocannon gets this thing back up to the firepower it should be. It still adds the ECM and sensors trait. They're just not quite as prolific as you might want them to be. The sweeper swaps the medium autocannon for a frag cannon. Being a little bit faster than the Warrior, I can tolerate this, although I still feel like it's kind of wasted. The bazooka version with the Scourge, again, same commentary with the Warrior. You're a little bit slow, so it's hard to leverage the range on this thing and split as a trap. And the fact that it still only is a light, I think is very unfortunate for it. The Pilum keeps the light autocannon, upgrades the medium rocket pack to a light anti-tank missile. The fact that it's gunnery 3-up is the big selling point here, but that's a 4-point upgrade to become gunnery 3-up over a baseline warrior. While I don't think this is a bad model, if you want to sit there and bomb with the light anti-tank missiles, just use warriors. You're going to get, for every 2 pylons you can, warrior 4s you could have 3 warriors, which is going to be more damage potential. We do have a new variant here. We have the Fusillade, which is 13 points, has a medium rotary laser instead of light autocannon. I quite like this. It is just a better upgraded medium autocannon or light autocannon. It's got all the unit availabilities you would want, including special forces, which is very interesting. You know what? I like this guy. I think the Fusillade, I think it's a fairly new variant. I don't remember it being in the last edition. I might be wrong, but I could get on board with this. So the summary here is the Vanguard and the Fusillade are my two favorites. The other ones are not necessarily, some of them I consider to be bad, but like the Pylum, I think you're just better off with the cheaper options. You can upgrade all of these to have a jetpack. It's a point upgrade. I'm not sure why you would want to give it a jetpack, but you could. And you can upgrade these to a chieftain. They go to EW4 up and get a satellite uplink. This is also an excellent commander. I think a Vanguard Warrior for chieftain is secretly one of the better ones as well. This gets a lot more attention though because of the sat-up. The sat-up, if you roll unopposed on your electronic warfare skill, ups you to a 3. You can go to a 2 with the EW specialist trait. Makes this thing probably the favored commander of the faction. If I was playing Peace River, I'd be looking at a Warrior 4 Chieftain as a commander a fair bit, especially if you're going to spend the points to upgrade to a task force commander and just go all the way with that line. The Warrior is great just because I think that a lot of people overlook it. This doesn't get overlooked as much, but there's a good reason for it because it's pretty good. The Skirmisher is the in-house recon light trooper gear for the Peace River Defense Force. The nice things about it, it has a much better electronic warfare suite than many of its cousins in other factions. Because again, if you produce everything in-house, money becomes less of an issue. It is used as a light trooper, though, as opposed to, say, the Jerboa in the new Coal Box. So it is going to have a better offensive profile, better fire control, and some better durability. In universe, it's used on long-range patrols and sweeper operations, and it's worth noting that there is a devoted electronic warfare and even a special forces variant. All right, all the skirmishers are recon, fire support, and paratrooper. Some of them add some UAs later on. The recon is pretty good. Fire support and paratrooper, meh. Movement rating 8, walker ground makes this thing fairly fast. The fact that it's a ground movement's a little unfortunate, means it still has to move around things, but you're still fairly quick. Armor 5, hull structure 3-3 means that this actually can shoot at things and not feel too bad about that, especially considering the Jerboa we talked about last time that was armor 4. This thing can actually take a hit a little much better. One action, gunnery 4 up, piloting at 3+, so good stuff there. EW 4+ passively. Okay. All of these have a rocket pack of some kind that has been downgraded to damage 6. Note that you still retain the armor piercing and a vibroblade. Traits-wise, they all have sensors 36. It is an auxiliary sensors, though. They have an ECM plus auxiliary. Okay. And then comms, airdrop, agile, and arms. So let's go through the stat line here. The stat line is consistent with the light trooper role. You start gunnery 4+ for reasonable accuracy. Piloting 3 up with agile is going to keep you from not getting hit. Armor 5 means you can weather a hit a little bit better than some of your compatriot machines. It is airdroppable, so if you want to, you can use that particular deployment type. Comms trait means that all of these make a functional commander. ECM plus means you can throw ECM defense out there and just keep it up. It's a really good rule. Unfortunately, it is auxiliary, so if you get tagged and hit, it's probably gone. And Sensors 36 is really good. You will notice that there is one thing missing. There is no target designator, and there is an upgrade for a target designator. We'll get to that, but it is an upgrade. So, variance-wise, the baseline variant has a light rifle. Honestly, I think this is my preferred variant. The light rifle encourages you to do what you're supposed to do. Sit back, forward observe, fry things, and provide defense. Okay. Perfectly serviceable option. I like it. Light autocannon on the Vanguard. So this gives you a reasonably accurate gun. You know what? I'm okay with it. If you want to run this thing as a more aggressive model to leverage that ECM plus to protect some guys on the way in, I would run it as a Vanguard in that case. So the Skirmisher, the baseline is more sit back and plink. leverage your ECM and your sensors to really disrupt your opponent. If you're opting for a more defensive skirmisher where you want to use ECM plus to get ECM defense out and cover things, I'd go with the light autocannon because you're probably trying to get closer to the opponent. The sweeper and the scourge, see my commentary we've had before. It is faster, so it's much easier or much better able to leverage these guns. Unfortunately, I'm still not the biggest fan. It is a light frag cannon on the sweeper, which is a little sad. The bazooka is a much more attractive option, but I think if you're that close, you're probably not where the skirmisher wants to be. Unique variant here, we have access to the assassin. So the assassin has a silent medium rifle, and that's its only thing. Okay, cool. It's basically a 1-point upgrade to the baseline skirmisher. I think it's fine. Same UAs and everything. Oh, I did forget to mention one important thing on the Scourge. The Scourge is available in a strike UA. The Vanguard is not. That is the only argument I have for the Scourge. Well, the only real major argument I would have for taking a Scourge at this time in that aggressive defensive skirmisher role, which is a little bit of an oxymoron. All right, the Chieftain upgrade still exists for this thing, so you can make it a command variant. It gets an ECCM, which is fine, and it goes to EW3+. Excellent command machine again here. Get it to EW2+ pretty easily. Not much to argue with here. If you are going for the command machine, though, I would opt for either an assassin or a skirmisher, just to make it so you don't try and do something stupid. The tag upgrade is a 1-point upgrade. Adds an auxiliary setup, an auxiliary ECCM, and a target designator to any variant. Quite simply, this turns the skirmisher into the best of the EW gears we've talked about. ECM plus and an ECCM means you're offensively and defensively as good as it gets. The setup, if your opponent is not attempting to disrupt you, you're EW3 up, which means you're going to succeed more often than not. And the target designator. This is the only target designator in the box. If you want to use those pylons, you need tags, and they're still reasonably cheap. You can tag a skirmisher or tag a skirmisher if you want to for 10 points, which is pretty good. It depends on what you want to use it for as to which one you give the upgrade, but the tag is cheap. The sweeper is cheap. There is an argument to be had for this baseline and the assassin. This is a really good thing if you want to have it sit back, guard some heavy artillery. The ECCM is going to stop your opponent from frying them, and the target designator is going to be useful there. Lastly, we have the Special Forces upgrade. This really only matters for the Assassin because it gives stealth. You can use it on the much more aggressive skirmishers, particularly if you airdrop them. So if you're going to use an aggressive defensive skirmisher, drop it in with stealth. It's not a bad look. That's perfectly serviceable. The only downside is at that point you're getting really expensive because I still would probably want the tag upgrade in that situation. And it's getting expensive, guys. All right, so the summary on skirmishers is it's one of the best electronic warfare gears in the game. The only thing is to be careful of pouring on point costs for things you might be able to do. I would advise considering what you want it to do first. Alrighty, the Crusader 4. We've been pretty positive so far in this video about the Peace River models. That is about to change. Alright, so this is every man's fire sport gear. It's designed to be cheap, it's designed to be easy to maintain, and a good weapons loadout, nothing fancy. Unfortunately, that means that it has nothing fancy. Okay, so a bit about this thing in universe. It's designed to be cheap and easy to maintain. It has a weird vulnerability to haywire effects, particularly particle accelerators. And it focuses more on direct and imposing fire support as opposed to long-range bombardment. If you go back to our North video and I talk about the Grizzly, where the Grizzly is walking up to the middle of the table to leverage its effects, Mr. Crusader is doing that too. Alright, there's only 3 variants and an upgrade, so this will be fairly quick. All strike fire support, move 5, armor 8, hull structure 4-2. 1 action, gunnery 4 up, piloting EW 5+, all pretty standard there. The EW is 1 point higher for reasons I'm not completely sure, but okay, fine. All variants have a linked medium rocket pack, pretty good, a light field mortar, a light anti-personnel grenade launcher, and a vibroblade with Reach 1. They all come with the arms, React Plus, Brawler 1, and a Vulnerable Haywire trait. Vulnerable Haywire trait I don't think is a particularly big deal. If your opponent is shooting things that are Haywire at your Crusader 4, they're either making a mistake or already winning. Okay, if they're I think that's the stance of that. They're either making a mistake or already winning, which means it's kind of irrelevant to you. Brawler 1 with the melee weapon is actually pretty good. And like I said, what you're going to probably run this thing as is a much more aggressive. You're going to go in the middle of the table. You've got a melee weapon. You're only piloting 5 up, but Brawler helps that a fair bit. You can go kill some stuff. And with Reach 1, you can actually dominate an objective pretty easily with this thing. React Plus means you get a free reaction, and I don't think you're going to use it much for the indirect weapon as much. I think you're going to use it mostly for the arm weapon. The linked medium rocket packs, I will contend, is this thing's main gun. Linked medium rocket packs are something I quite enjoy. They hit really hard, they have decent AP, and they're reasonably accurate. The field mortar feels like a tacked on, well, it has to have a long range gun because it's fire support. If you play this thing aggressively in the middle, what is realistically going to happen is you're going to be bombarding the edges of the table. Or what you could do is play this thing towards a flank, grab some flank objectives. It's reasonably durable, so your opponent's going to have a harder time shifting it, but then you've got a field mortar to lob rounds across the table and help out. So not useless, but not my favorite. You have an anti-personnel grenade launcher, somebody gets cute. And like we already mentioned, the vibro blade. If something gets close to you, that is not infantry. You can go punch it. The baseline Crusader 4 has a heavy autocannon as its other main gun. This combos really well with the React Plus because that heavy autocannon is going to be 3 dice in reaction. So you're going to medium rocket pack with your regular action, maybe field mortar, but probably medium rocket pack. And then you're going to heavy autocannon with something else on your reaction. The reason I don't like the reaction with the field mortar is because you'd have to brace to get there, to get the bonus to hit. And even then, you're still an indirect weapon and you're not guided. If it was a guided mortar, I'd like it a lot more, but it has some accuracy problems for me. It's realistically rolling 1, maybe 2 dice against its primary target, and it's rolling 1 against everybody else. If you want to go fishing for dice luck, go ahead. I do not like those strategies. The Demolisher variant takes a medium snub cannon. This is, I think, for the more central Crusader plays. If you're going to go for a Crusader in the middle of the table, give it a snub cannon. Something's going to be in range eventually if you just keep running this thing down your opponent's throat. Interesting note here on this variant, I think that the React Plus becomes less useful. Mostly because you really want to shoot that snub cannon on the active turn. The Scourge just has a regular medium bazooka. See comments about Demolisher, it's pretty much the exact same there. The upgrade here is the Crusader 4 upgrade. You lose a bunch of stuff. You lose the field mortar, you lose the linked medium rocket pack, but you get a regular medium rocket pack and a regular medium field mortar. You're already not using the mortar as much as I think you probably think you might be. So I don't think the mortar is going to get used that much, so the upgrade to a medium I think is irrelevant. You are downgrading, I would contend, its main weapon. I hate this upgrade. The loss of vulnerable haywire isn't enough to justify what, in my opinion, is a dramatic loss in firepower. So summary here, these are not sit back and bombard your opponent machines. These are going much further forward. If you want to go in the middle of the table, which is perfectly fine, grab the Demolisher or the Scourge. You're not going to be using your field mortar as often with them. The regular Crusader 4 also works there, but the regular Crusader can also play a flank much better. The heavy autocannon means that it's going to be able to react more often than not. The field mortar is going to give you range on the table. The reason I don't like the other two on the flanks is you're so far away that it's very easy for your opponent to stay out of your range. You know, if you're camping an objective on a flank, your opponent can stand, 14 inches away? And say, haha, your snub cannon is now suboptimal range. Good luck. You can get to me, you're rolling less dice, I'm probably in cover I'll take that exchange. Whereas the heavy autocannon has much better range. So with that, guys, that is our Peace River Army box. The only one we have left to do now is Utopia.
Hey, this is Dave. If you like what we're doing here at What Game Now, go ahead and click on one of the videos which should be on either side of me, or click right in the middle and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell once you subscribe so that you know when we have new videos. Please go ahead and share us with your friends. Let everybody know that we're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all of our subscribers already. And we look forward to bringing you more content every chance that we get.